Hello and welcome to another episode of Leaders of Transformation. This is a new year. We are on episode 300. And for episode 300, I wanted to have a very special guest, in which we absolutely do here. We have Tim Storey, who is an acclaimed author, speaker, life coach. He has worked with entertainment legends, professional athletes, executives, and deprived children throughout the world. He has made a huge impact, traveled to 75 countries, and spoken to millions of people. He is the author of the book, several books. The most recent book is Come Back and Beyond. He's been featured on Oprah, Oprah's Super Soul Sunday, Steve Harvey TV, Grant Cardone's 10X Growth Con. He gets around with his message, and I'm just so grateful to have him here today. So welcome, Tim. We're excited to have you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. It's 2020.
Let's go.
The year of great vision, right? So awesome. Well, before we go any further, I do want to do a shout out to my good friend, Torian Scott. Torian is like a brother to me. He's just the most amazing individual. And he is the reason why we're having this conversation, is because he connected me to Tim. And I know that Tim is very busy and speaks a lot of different places, but it was through Torian that he made this happen. So thank you so much for that.
Torian so much. A couple things. He's very wise, mostly for his age, and very respectful.
Yes.
He's a very respectful person and has a great message. So I'm glad he put us together.
Yes. Actually, I did a testimonial for his book, Running After Destiny, and I said he was wise beyond his years.
Yes,
it was
truly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, tell us a little bit about what led you to be a life coach. You're a life coach, a pastor. You speak, you travel. What inspired this for you?
I think just number one, as a kid, I was raised in a church. At age 4, we went to church. And to me, church was fun. I liked the Sunday school classes, and I liked the candy. And the teachers were nice. And so I became like a bit of a church rat. And at like 14, I was helping them vacuum the church. At 15, I was helping to make tapes after the pastor spoke. So I was just raised in that environment. And when I was probably about 17, somebody gave me a book about the life of Mother Teresa. So I actually saw a friend of mine in high school. She was reading it. And I asked her what it was about. She told me, she goes, you can borrow it when I'm done. So I did. And I'm trying to tell you, that book really changed my life, because I saw how one lady who had a heart for orphans could change so many people. And so being raised in the church, reading the Mother Teresa book brought me here to talk to you today.
That is amazing. So life coaching. there's a lot of life coaches out there. It's this whole industry has exploded, and you've been doing this for many, many years. What do you notice? I notice, for example, your book is called Come Back and Beyond.
Yes.
And a lot of people are experiencing major setbacks. I certainly have. And I love how you say in your book, it's not just one setback. You expect that there's going to be many setbacks and many comebacks along the way. So it's not just a one and done. So in your life coaching, what do you focus on? I mean, you work with celebrities, you work with professional athletes, which have a different mindset, let's say. Maybe they've already developed a certain level of excellence and success in their life. What do you focus on?
Well, the thing that I see is I like to focus on the now and then where someone is headed, and only take a little bit of time on the past. Because I think that we're going through two things at one time, and that is recovery and discovery. The recovery is being healed from the wounds of the past. But what I've found is that if you're not careful, you will stay in what I call the recovery zone, and you will miss your discovery zone. So the discovery is today. Like, there's a lot that has gone on for you to have a good day today. So I don't want to miss that being so caught up in my recovery that I'm missing the discovery of today and the discovery of my future. So I spent a lot of time going from where you are now to being open to what is next. And there's I'll use a Bible verse in this case. It says, "Forget about the former things, do not dwell on the past. For behold," the word behold there means look up and pay attention. God is doing a new thing. New there means fresh, never been done before. So no matter who I'm working with, I believe that something new, fresh, never been done before can happen in their lives.
Mm. Yeah, great distinction there, because I think that I've noticed, you're either growing or dying, right? You're either ripe or rotten. And oftentimes we look at people that are very successful and we say, wow, I'd like to be there. But yet when you get there, and we could talk about that, this idea of what real happiness and where that really comes from, true fulfillment doesn't come from the things and the accolades and all of that. But we look at that and we say, well, how could they possibly want any more? And in reality, if there is no more discovery, then what's the point to live?
100%. And I think that the beauty of life is that you never know what can happen just around the corner. And this is what I get to see firsthand. I get to see people that come to me and say, hey, I have this idea, and see them 3 years later and the idea worked. Or, hey, my son's coming to Hollywood and he's going to be on this thing called The Voice. And then the kid wins. So this is a very common thing. Like, I knew Jessica Simpson since she was 15. I knew Justin Timberlake from the first year he was in Sync. So I knew Kanye West before he got on Fire for God and did a gospel album. So I get to see a lot of people who are just living their life, but then just around the corner, everything shifts. So that's a beautiful thing, knowing that today could be a day for all the viewers where something just shifts in a beautiful way.
Yes. Well, we are in a new year.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are going to be looking at this new year with anticipation and hope.
Yeah.
And, and there's some practical things that need to happen in order for that dream that they have to be fulfilled. So
100%.
So what are some of the things so we're starting the brand new year.
Yeah.
How do you start your year?
Well, there's a thing that I'm known for, and that's teaching on the law of the harvest, which I'm not the first person to teach on it. But it's the idea of you have to plow the ground, plant the seed, water the seed to reap the harvest, right? But I think that a lot of people, they plow, and they're so plow-minded that they don't realize that if you plant the right seeds and you water the seeds, you might actually get a harvest. So a lot of people are going to receive harvest in 2020 from seeds they planted in 2013. And like, people constantly say to me, how did all this stuff happen for you in Hollywood? Well, I started in 1992 doing a Bible study in a very well-known actress's house and refused to take money. And there was very wealthy people there. And then I did a Hollywood Bible study that went up to, we would have about 750 in attendance, which is a lot for a Bible study. And I paid for the whole thing the first 10 years with all these powerful people sitting there. The Barry Gordy from Motown, Lee Iacocca over here, Charlie Sheen over here, Robert Downey Jr. over here, and took no money. For 10 years, I paid for the whole thing. So it's probably not by accident that it came back to me in money and what money cannot buy. So I believe to start the year, you have to plow, plant, water, which is repetition, and then payday is on its way.
Mm. Yeah, there's a saying that it just keeps reminding me is and keeps coming back to me is God gives seed to the sower.
Yes, he does give seed to the sower. And when you learn to sow from just a good place, like my thing again, let's say even in the life coaching thing, some things in life you decide, some things you discover. I never thought I would be life coach to the stars. Here's what I thought. I want to be a servant. So whether I'm serving at a church or serving, speaking at a school for free, or serving somebody's son by helping him, that's just what I do. This other thing was I think more in the plan of what God had planned for me. So he does give seed to the sower. When you are a sower, more seed comes back into your life, just as you said, Nicole.
Thank you. So let's talk about your book.
Yeah.
And really enjoyed reading it. And one of the first things that you actually start off with in the beginning is you talk about dissatisfaction, and that dissatisfaction is good. Divine dissatisfaction, that desire to keep moving forward, like we were talking about a few minutes ago, this idea of discovery. So there's divine dissatisfaction, and then there's also this ego-driven dissatisfaction.
Yes.
Talk about the difference between that.
Yeah, and that's actually an excellent question. So I feel like a lot of people are dissatisfied because their goals are not realistic. And so, in fact, in the Bible, it says, he who works his land shall have abundance, which means overflowing more than enough. So what is your land? Your land is what's in front of you. So if you're in the 7th grade, work your 7th grade land. If you work at Taco Bell, make me a taco, take care of the Chihuahua, and be nice. So that's working your land. He who works his land shall have abundance, but whoever chases fantasies lacks wisdom. So a lot of people are chasing fantasies. They're chasing the shiny object. And so they're getting dissatisfied in their jobs too quick, dissatisfied in their school that they just started, dissatisfaction in their exercise program, dissatisfied with the person they just started dating or they got married to. And so that is a whole other dissatisfaction that I think is more cultural. Make sense?
Yes.
Like, give me a new toy.
Yes.
Divine dissatisfaction, to me, is God changes your appetite. Where all of a sudden you don't have an appetite for the same thing anymore. So a lot of people that I talk to, let's take John Paul DeJora. He's a man that's done well in life. He's worth billions and billions of dollars. He sold one company within the last couple of years for over $5 billion, okay? So I was talking to him about this, and he just said that he just wanted to just give. He just wanted to give. He wanted to sow and to help. And so he has numerous charities that he's doing. If you look at Richard Branson, one of my friends just spent a week with him on safari. And so much of his life, Richard Branson, who's doing so well, that's Virgin, he wanted to sow. And so I believe that God does this where he will cause you to lose your appetite for one thing because he's moving you into something else. And so to me, that's divine dissatisfaction, that it doesn't feel good just being selfish anymore or just thinking about what I want to do for my own career. But God will speak to you through your appetite and your desires.
That's interesting because a few years ago, this God kept putting on my heart this word elevate, elevate, elevate. I'm like, elevate, how do you mean elevate? And it was through associations. I did this podcast. That was a divine download. It was, you're going to do a podcast. This is what it's going to be about. This is what it's going to be called. Go. Yeah. And I look at, that was the seeds and the plowing that happened. And now people say, wow, you know all these people, and, you have this successful podcast, but that was being obedient too. There's a level of obedience that you need to have to your passion. So can you talk about that? Your passion, your purpose, your calling.
I just loved how you just said that. I think because God could give you a plan, but then you have to be obedient. Can I throw in another word? You have to be willing.
Yes.
And that's the challenge with people, is that they have a free will. And many times they're not willing. Can I give you an example?
Amen.
Yes. This is going to be kind of funny. I was in Dallas and I was going to speak at this place in Texarkana, Texas, on the Texas side, because it's Arkansas and Texas, as you might know. So I'm driving down what they call Interstate 30. And all of a sudden there's a big cow in the middle of the road. And so behind me are like Ram trucks, Ford trucks, Ram trucks, Ford trucks. That's that kind of country, okay? So I'm driving, not a truck. I'm just driving. I'm from Los Angeles, driving to go speak in Texarkana. And I got a cow in the middle of the road. I wish the cow would have stopped in front of the truck guy. He probably would have known what to do. So I'm come near the cow. I honk, okay? The cow's not willing to move, okay? We're talking about willing. He will not move. A guy comes out of his truck, okay? Looks like a cowboy. True story. Goes into the road, and as he goes in the road, he gives me a dirty look, like, oh, please. You don't know how to get a cow out of the middle of the road? It's a true story. Puts the cow in a headlock and walks him
oh my
off
goodness.
the road and hits him in the butt in a nice, soft way, and the cow goes running. And then he goes, that's how you do it.
Wow.
That's what he said to me. And I went like this. I went, and I just drove.
We don't see too many cows in Hollywood.
No, like, now I know. But I think it's so funny because the cow was unwilling.
Yeah.
I honked. I went, woo, woo, woo. And I'm a nice guy, so I didn't want to scare him too much. Cow was not willing. So the cowboy had to go like this.
I think I've been in that headlock with God. He just like, look, this is the way we're going.
So you use two good words, obedient, willing. And that's one thing I am, Nicole. I'm very willing and most times obedient to do the things that people don't want to do. I remember my first job, I was a dishwasher. And nobody wants to be a dishwasher at a restaurant. I did, because the guy told me, if you're a dishwasher, then you could be a busboy, and then you could be a waiter. So it was a 1, 2, 3 punch. So I was washing those dishes like there was no tomorrow. And I remember Mr. Anderson came to me and he goes, oh my gosh, Timmy, who taught you how to do this? I said, my mother. She taught us not to do a half job. And so that's how I work. I don't show up late for anything. I do what I say I'm going to do. I got 8 different jobs right now, but yet I'm sitting here in the moment with you right now, paying attention to you, okay? Because you're very important and doing great things. So I think that this whole idea of being obedient, when you're obedient in the small things, then life trusts you with the bigger things. So Mr. Anderson trusted me with being a busboy after seeing what I did as a dishwasher, then a busboy, then to a waiter. There was a trust that was being built by me being obedient in the small things.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's so true. Oftentimes we want to be on the stage. We want to have the paid speaking engagement. I hear that a lot by people that are speakers. I want to be paid speakers. And they say, I don't want to do free
Yeah.
speaking engagements. I want to get paid because I am worth it.
Yeah.
And it's just that, it's that journey. Can you talk about, because sometimes that journey is long and you
Yeah.
go through what may feel like the long wilderness or the valley, and how do you stay focused? How do you stay motivated when, there's a scripture that talks about don't grow weary in well doing.
Hmm.
How do you do that?
I think that even though I'm a big thinker and a lot of my books have to do with, thinking big in small places, and Utmost Living was a book that I did with Random House. Don't Get Stuck in an Almost Life. That I'm a bit of a simpleton. I mean, look at me today. I'm in a sweatshirt. I'm just kind of chilling, but at the same time, I'm kind of kicking butt. To be honest with you, I got movie deals, I got plays, I got a new book with HarperCollins coming out. I got a lot of things going on, but to me, I just want to do my portion. I want to do my assignment. Like, I remember in the world that I grew up in, which was ministry, that I was the boy wonder for so many years. And then out of nowhere came this one minister that literally circled all of us like 10 times around. And we never saw this guy coming. We didn't even know who this guy was. He just circled us all 10 times around. And I remember how happy I was for him. And I remember a friend of mine said, how does that make you feel that his crowds are bigger than yours? Or it seems like he kind of like almost took some of your thunder. I said, no, I don't see it that way. I said, maybe that was my assignment for that period of time, to be leader of the pack at that level to those people. But I'm sure that if that's not my assignment anymore, I'm sure God will reassign me. So I really have that much faith in God that I'm not overly concerned about the reassignment. I think it's just as important to be an amazing mother as it is to be Oprah Winfrey. Oprah is called to be Oprah, and someone else is called to be an amazing mother. I think that's how the Father sees it.
Mm.
So I live a life that's not so full of stress. I promise you. And people that are around me, they're almost blown away by, like, I'm not like constantly thinking of what's next.
So that actually brings up a great point. I had somebody who submitted a question and asked the question of what does a day in the life of Tim look like? How do you prioritize your time? Because you do have a lot of things on the go.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we get tired, right? Like what we just talked about. And then other times we actually get burned out, or some people get burned. A lot of people.
Yeah.
I think I don't want to predict this because it's not a good thing. But if you look at the entrepreneurial space, and you have a lot of entrepreneurs coming into this space, especially in the last 10 years, and they are under the impression that working long hours is the badge of honor, is the way that you create success. When in fact, of course, it's results. So it's not about how many hours you put in. That's an employee mindset, right? Versus, yeah. And so in that, when I look to the future and I say, okay, on that path, that's not sustainable, working those long. I've done that. So I know how that one goes.
Oh yeah.
So how do you, though, with all of the things that you have going on, how do you maintain that, like you said, the lack of stress and just that ease and grace to it?
So number one, I don't take myself that seriously. I look at a lot of life through comedy. I don't listen to many ministers, to be honest with you. Like, I don't watch Christian TV. Maybe from time to time if a friend of mine's going to be on. I watch a lot of comedians because comedians are some of the best speakers ever because of their timing. Okay. But let me go back to the first thing I said. I will listen to certain Bible teachers. Like I like older guys like Jack Hayford or Chuck Smith or Chuck Swindoll because they're teaching like the Bible. But for the sake of being a speaker, I study comedians. Let me say it that way.
Got it.
And so I think a lot through the eyes and the lens of a comedian. That's just how I see life. I see comedy in so many things. And so I don't take myself that serious that 2020 is going to be my year. You know, I remember, because I go back this far, there was a saying, it's going to be great in 88.
I remember that.
It's going to be fine in 89. Okay, phenomenal. So I don't really get caught up in all that. What I want to do is I want to do, again, as I said earlier, I want to do my portion. I want to do what I'm supposed to do. So there was a guy that was a friend of mine, or is a friend of mine. And he said, Tim, I'm a little overwhelmed. I have to get an engagement ring for my fiance. And he goes, and you're a fashionable guy. And would you be willing to go with me next Saturday to help me get this engagement ring? This is about 20 years ago. And I go, yeah. He goes, you know, I don't know what to pick. And she told me, you choose. And I don't know what to pick. And I have a certain budget. So I took him to 3 different stores. And we narrowed it down to different ones at this store and ended up together finding something that was amazing for a good price that she went wild and cried and everything else, okay? And this guy later told me, probably 15 years after that they had been married all these years, he said to me, out of all the things that I've ever seen you do, I've followed you for years, I've seen you on stage, I saw you speak to a lot of people at one time. The thing that touched my heart the most, Tim, is when you took 4 hours of your life to go find wedding rings for me, engagement ring. See, that I think is cool.
I hear presence. You mentioned that word earlier, being fully present right here.
Yeah,
being present in every moment.
Fully feeling, fully alive. Like,
yeah.
I am right here, right now. And I think one of the things that happens to me is because I deal with so many A personalities of people who are used to getting their way, is I'll be driving down the freeway just listening to music because I love music. I love Motown. I was raised on Smokey Robinson, Stevie Wonder. I love Flo. I love James Taylor because my sisters did. I love Carole King. I love all types of music. So I'll be listening to music and I'll see that people are calling my phone, I mean, one after another. And it could be this big guy and that big guy and this big guy and that big guy. And then sometimes if I don't answer the call, then I'll get a text. Tim, please. Tim, seriously. Tim, can't you just give me 5 minutes? And so one of the things is these guys are so used to people just jumping, male and female, some of these people. But I like what one author says, your urgent is not necessarily my urgent. So I'm not jumping to everybody. I want to stay in my flow. I believe that that's how Jesus was on earth. He stayed in his Jesus flow.
That is awesome. And it's funny because when we got the phone, the cell phone, we started carrying years ago.
Yeah.
My dad was one of the first ones to have a cell phone in the car. It actually plugged in. It was like 1979.
Such a big deal. My gosh.
We would listen, but what was interesting is that how quickly people started to make that an attachment to themselves, like, and that it actually controlled them. It's like the phone's ringing, I have to pick it up, or
Yes.
somebody's texting me, I have to. And then you're feeling that obligation. I did this quick little video on the difference between obligation and opportunity.
Yeah.
Seeing things as an opportunity as opposed to an obligation. I have to do this, I have to do that. It's all this external force on you. And what I hear and what you just said there is that you keep things from the right perspective, that it's coming from the inside out as opposed to being controlled from the outside in.
Yes.
Because
But
people will, if you don't create a plan for your life, somebody will try to fit you into theirs.
yeah. So Nicole, number one, great illustration about the phone having us instead of us having the phone. That was brilliant. But I will also say this, that in fairness to people that are watching, this took me a long time to get here because people make a lot of money off me. I have agents, I have managers, plural. I have big contracts I've signed. So people make a lot of money off me. So they want me to do a lot. So there's a lot of pressure that comes on a daily basis from people. Tim, they're trying to book you here. You should go. You should do this. You should do that. You should do that. And when I was in my 30s and my 40s, I was more that guy. But something shifted in me where I learned from this guy named Ed Cole, who was a great teacher. He said to me, it's not how fast you move your feet, it's how big your strides are. And I've learned to make better and bigger strides. And I feel like I'm accomplishing more than ever by being this chilled out dude. But I want to say this real quick, because at one point you said kind of like, what is my routine in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
So one is my spiritual side. I really believe in prayer. I believe in study. So I do that for a whole hour. Then I go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week just to survive. Then I love music. I got to have music in me. I'm telling you, I'm really into like Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind, and Fire. I need flow. I'm from Compton. I need rhythm. I need flow. I need things happening. Yeah, that helps. That's how I start.
I love that. And I love music. And actually, it was just last week that I felt I was a little out of flow. And I realized that I hadn't been listening to music. I had been reading a lot. I'd been studying a lot, but I
Yeah.
hadn't been listening to music. And as soon as I put the music on, it was like it's like my spirit came
Oh,
alive.
it just does it to you.
Yeah.
Like, of course, because of my spiritual side, I love praise and worship music and that kind of thing. And I use that side of my life. But I just love music of the 70s because it reminds me of my sisters, hearing it coming out of their bedrooms. Music of the 80s reminds me of, just being younger. And it moves me. It takes me places. I was in Santa Barbara and I went and saw James Taylor. You know who James Taylor is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, look at this guy up there with just a guitar. And he's got like 3,500 people just right here. Just brilliant. Yeah. So I love to be in the moment. But again, in fairness to other people, Nicole, it took me a while to get here.
Yeah. Well, and that's why we do interviews like this, right? Is so that people
Yes.
can learn and learn sooner, learn faster, be able to learn from the wisdom that you have that you can share. And that is awesome. What do you think? There's so many, I'm going to shift gears here before we wrap up because I would love to hear your thought on this.
Yes.
There is so much uncertainty in the world. There's so many world problems that people are trying to solve and all this.
Yes.
What do you think is the number one need in the world right now?
Okay. So another good question. I do a lot of work in this area. I've been to 75 countries, but I've been there. Some people just go and they don't even know where they are. I study them before I get there. I get into the culture while I'm there, and I study them and stay close to them after I leave. So we have problems all over the world, but we've had problems all over the world from the beginning of mankind. So any times you're going to have humans, you're going to have human problems. So this has always been around, and it's going to remain in one form or fashion. Okay, as long as you have human beings on the planet. So, but what I think, when people's mindset, when they change their mindset and they change their motives, it could shift a culture. Mindset, motives. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if everybody in your city for 1 week had good motives, it could change the culture and the climate of that one city. True?
Yes.
So if your motive was, I'm going to be kind. So if someone says, hey, can I get over? You know, like someone's trying to change lanes. Yes. Are you going to the bank? Open the door for the lady. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Or you're at the grocery store. You're not trying to beat the other guy to aisle 15. So when people have good motives and people have the right mindset, it changes the culture. So the Bible says, when the righteous are raised up, the city is exalted. It's very powerful stuff. So when you have right thinking and right motives, it'll raise up any city. So we are temperature changers. When I go somewhere, I change the temperature of every doggone place I go to. And I could just sit there. I was in a place yesterday, I didn't say a word. They just asked me as Tim Storey to sit there and listen. I sat there and I listened, and I watched the temperature shift. I didn't ask them to keep looking at me, but it's what I got coming out of my essence. So mindset, motives, shifts, but do it in your own environment, in your home, in your school, at your job, in your city, and then it may multiply to the world. Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you. So as we wrap up,
Tim Storey for president.
Yes. Woohoo. Well, you know, I was thinking as you said that if there was one thing, like if I look at it for myself, I'm always learning from my guests, right? And I'm saying, what is a takeaway for me is that this idea of shifting atmospheres, of changing the environment wherever I am.
Yeah.
If that was the only goal, that'd be a pretty good life goal, just to even just do that.
100%. And that's the Jesus style. He just walked around doing good. Acts 10:38. And Jesus went about doing good, healing those that were oppressed. So if someone goes to 7-Eleven with me, they know it's going to take a while because there's usually somebody outside asking for food or money or something. And I'm going to sit and I'm going to talk to that person. You know why? Because that's somebody's son or that's somebody's daughter. That's just the way it's going to be. And now they do it a lot outside banks. And I'll sit and I'll talk with somebody. Sometimes I'll sit down with them for a long time and just chat. That's somebody's son, that's somebody's daughter. That's how I look at everybody. If I see a person trying to put their luggage in the plane, they can't do it, I'm the first to get up. It's just the way my mother raised me, but it's also what's in me. I like to serve mankind, and then wherever that takes me, then fine. And wherever it doesn't take me, then fine as well.
Beautiful. Tim, thank you so much. Oh, this is one of those ones, like, you've shifted the atmosphere just in who you are. And I know that our listeners are going to be inspired by this. I know that I'm inspired by this. I'm just a huge fan.
Well,
And
if I could say this to you, congratulations on how many episodes?
300.
300 episodes. So you were way ahead of so many other people that started these podcasts later. So congratulations for being a trailblazer. Okay.
Thank you.
And for the people that follow me, that are now going to follow Nicole, make sure to follow her. And just for one moment, tell us some other things you're doing. You're writing books, you're out speaking. Tell them, because my
Did
people.
Torian tell you? Did Torian tell you?
No, just tell us real quick, because my people are going to now say, why is he being so nice to her? And they're going to follow you. So tell me what you're up to.
Sure. Well, thank you for that. Torian has been on me and reminding me, because I have a book that I am actually a few years back. God put it on my heart to write 3 books. Actually, it was woke up early in the morning and gave me these inspirations for a book, and I said, "You want me to write a book?" He said, "No, I want you to write 3."
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So the first one is telling my story, but it's in a way of teaching, right? It's helping somebody else through it, the valleys to the victories.
Yes.
That's the first one. The second one is about redefining entrepreneurship, flipping the model from the me to we.
Yes.
And using Jesus as an example, looking at his life. Entrepreneurship to me is not a vocation; it's a lifestyle. It's who you are.
Good. Very good.
I believe that we're all creators. When we're made in God's image, God is a creator. We are creators, and that's what entrepreneurs do. They create.
And book number 3 is about.
And the book number 3 is actually Leaders of Transformation. It's going to be some key, some of the people that have been on this podcast. Just share their story. So like chapters, kind of like a chicken soup for the soul for Leaders of Transformation. And that will be a series that we'll do. And one of them, which I think will be really fun, is going to be children. So kids speaking to kids.
I love it. It's such a needed thing for children nowadays, because they're being targeted with so many other messages.
Yes. Well, and a lot of it's adults speaking to children. Right.
Oh.
So rather than children speaking to children and seeing somebody who is a peer, who's an 8-year-old doing amazing things, building water wells, in Africa, whatever, just for them to realize that it's possible for them and break the mold. So, yeah. Yes. So I've got those books and I've been coaching entrepreneurs for years, but it's really, again, what God is saying to me, it's about elevating. It's going beyond the one-to-one to the one-to-many, looking for opportunities of how I can serve. And I've been blessed with ups and downs in my life, and so many things that I've had the opportunity to learn, as of course you have as well. And you realize it's like, I went through these things. The greatest gift is the growth through it and what I get to teach others. And so that's what I'm focused on.
Keep following Nicole. 2020, she's leading you to new and amazing places.
Thank you. You're so kind, Tim. I appreciate you. And for our listeners, please go to Tim's Storey. That's Storey with an E, Storey. For those of you that don't know Tim yet, you now do. And I would highly encourage you to follow him. So timstorey.com. Also, he has an app out, which is called Utmost with Tim Storey. And there's some wonderful inspiration and tools and support there. So highly encourage. You can find that on his website, but also through the Apple, iTunes, wherever you get your apps, you can find it there. And his book, Come Back and Beyond, and his first book, of course, as well, Utmost, is there as well. And so I highly encourage you to follow Tim. If you are local to Hollywood, get on his list, because he does events in Hollywood where you have, and I know they sell out, but
they do. So I do events in Hollywood, but I have a church where you can come for free.
There you go. Yes.
And that's in Orange County, not far from Disneyland. So if you live anywhere in Southern California, it's called The Congregation. So that's congregationchurch.com. It's a cool church. It's a smaller church. We have 550 people who say they're part of the church, and then about 280 to 330 actually show up every Sunday, because that's church life. But it's a really cool community, and I enjoyed pastoring the church.
Beautiful. Well, I haven't been there, but I will be. I will
Yes.
come
You'll like
this
it.
month.
It's really,
Yeah.
really nice place.
Yeah, it'd be great. Tim, thank you so very much. I appreciate you. And we appreciate you as a listener as well for tuning in, because you're the reason why we do this podcast. I do it because I get to meet amazing people and learn so much. And I love sharing it with you through this podcast. And so we'd love to hear your stories. You can go on leadersoftransformation.com. You can find us on social media. Tell us your story. Tell us what you're up to. Tell us what you're planning to do. Tell us how we can help you. What support do you need in order to be able, to do what you want to do, to make your mark in the world, right? And even if it's just to get past where you are right now and get past the past and into the now and build your future this year, let us know how we can help you do that. I believe that leaders of transformation take action on something that you learned today. Tim has provided so much wisdom here, wisdom that he has learned over many, many years of experience. And so take something and apply it today. Maybe the next time you go into 7-Eleven, when you stop on the way home, when you go to 7-Eleven or the bank, rather than rushing by the person sitting outside, stop and have a conversation. It'll change your life. So I encourage you that. We'd love to hear your stories. And again, we appreciate you and look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Leaders of Transformation real soon.